Well, hello everybody. We see Canada won the gold tonight, beat the Czech Republic. Second time in a row Canada's won men's World Juniors. I got the privilege of watching the last one, and of course I saw it on TV this time. Don't think I'll get a shirt, maybe get an aftermarket one, but really incredible indeed. I want to do this video. I'm going to give people time to log on. And it's really destroying Antivax. And a lot of people don't know what Antivax really even is. They've been around a long time, long before COVID. They grew in strength and disinformation during COVID-19. An endemic is COVID-19, but the fallout of many other diseases. We all heard about monkeypox. If you didn't know, a sexually transmitted disease. It's when men allow other men, multiple men, to ejaculate in their anus. Group sex. This video is going to be harsh as we go through. We're going to go through everything absolutely by the numbers. People can try to propagate, try to create narratives, but really, anyone who watches this video, as we go through it, you're going to be able to Google every point by point, and you will find that in data, in real source data, everything I quote is 100% correct and accurate. I had a misfortunate Christmas. Many male friends of mine or acquaintances or followers, people close to me this time around, died of cancer. And they died of a specific cancer. A cancer that's been held largely by women, a burden of Canadian women. In this country, Canada, it's been a massive burden. They've created a whole testing devotion just to women on one STI, cervix cancer, uterine cancer, vulva cancer. There's other vaginal cancers associated with just one, HPV. What's happened in the last several decades is men are dying of a throat cancer, a variation of many throat cancers, at an alarming rate. In fact, it's such an alarming rate that is now ready to take over women. It's the human papilloma virus. Folks, I've got friends going through it now, friends who aren't going to be with us in just a matter of days, maybe another a week, another in the year to come, possibly. Devastating. If you've never dealt with the cancer variation for men, it's brutal. You lose parts of your body. You can lose your nose, parts of your cheek, entire sections of your throat if it's not in critical areas that will kill you. Lots of folks I know this holiday season went down that road at, again, alarming rates. So I had to look it up. I had to look up all the statistics, and I learned quite a bit. COVID-19, the government decided that, hey, we should just cancel all screenings and surgeries deemed non-critical. If it wasn't immediately dangerous to your life, we would shelve it for 6-month terms. Happened twice. And folks, that shelving has led to mass amounts of stage 4 cancer. In fact, Canadian men, are the number one statistics in fatalities for cancer. Human papillomavirus, mass amounts. They say 70%, but did you know all Canadians, men and women alike, men don't get screened for it. The healthcare system, Canada-wide, all provinces and territories deems that women can be screened, but not men. Men are not to be screened. They give a rough guesstimate of 70% in those stages of cancer. Attribute tobacco, which used to be nearly 90%, so they thought. But now the numbers keep growing, and as they start to test, they learn it's human papillomavirus. Now, why are men growing and ready to surpass women in vaginal, cervix, uterine cancers? Why? Why? Well, it's very easy to chase those numbers. In fact, you can look at, yes, we have a lot of baby boomer generation coming up. We look at those age ranges, but that's not all of it. It doesn't work out to the historically large numbers. The government, Canada-wide, federally and through the provinces, every province did a targeted HPV vaccination program starting 2014 through to 16. Now it's just generally accepted for all children. At the time I was going through a divorce. I was going through it as a critical time. I wasn't ready. I wasn't paying attention to the world around me at those particular years. Lucky I signed it off. My daughters got vaccinations, a 3-shot regimen. Both of them did, from 2014 to 16. But folks, HPV is a virus, a sexually transmitted infection that is well majorly above even the hepatitis categories. Those are largely blood infections you get exchanging blood. In fact, you'd have to drink gallons of human saliva infected with HIV to run the risk of getting HIV. Now, we're not going to go into the development of AIDS. Human papillomavirus is much less than that. Extreme kissing, there's mucus in the sinus cavity that gets into the mouth and it's exchanged. You can get it. Oral sex, absolutely, you can get it. You can get it. So why, folks, are men getting it at rapid proportions? Well, it's morality. You can look at all the divorce statistics, the change in societal narratives, specifically with women. Men have always been dogs. That's true, and you see that in the cervix and uterine HPV volumes for women. But over these last couple decades, leading up to 2014, the government started to see men's numbers grow astronomically. Why is that? Well, it's readily acceptable in society that women can have multiple sexual partners, equality, and can continue forward. HPV infections are off the chart, especially in two of those mutations out of 300. 2 of them are massively destructive. In fact, it's so destructive, just in mortality stats today, Canada, mortality stats on HPV 16 and 18 cancer, every Canadian alive paying taxes today will pay $90,000 in their working lifetime for those who died of HPV cancer. You will pay that in your taxation lifetime, $90,000 a year, 2022 onward till your working life ends, just on HPV cancer. Think about that. How long in taxes does that take you? Now, I work in the trades, I'm well paid. My taxes, about 2 working years of federal and provincial taxes, will go to that satisfying that statistic. We're not talking about those who got HPV 16, 18 and survived. there's money on top of that too. We're talking about the people that died of it and how much we paid for their treatment and attempted restoration of their lives. Much, much larger, astronomically larger than the cost of a COVID-19 during the narrated pandemic, the time when it wasn't ruled endemic. Those 2 years. Was it worth it? Folks, anti-vaxxers will tell you, oh, if you take care of yourself, you take vitamins, you don't need the shot. I'm going to tell you something about the shots. You know what efficacy is, right? COVID-19 had an efficacy. Oh, it will be 90%. Then with variants, oh, it's 78%, 82%, 90%. A lot of people still got COVID. I did. HPV only has a 70% efficacy if you do all 3 regimens. Now, sure, that means you're 3 times as likely being vaccinated not to develop one of those critical cancers than an unvaccinated HPV person. But folks, let's slow down. So in the 80s, the idea of divorce was unheard of. The idea of having multiple relationships was shunned by society. What do you think the rates of HPV were then compared to what they are now? With even vaccinated people, like my daughters being the first generations of it, as a mass society with a 70% efficacy, what do you think would be the numbers of a woman in the 80s who slept with 2 men in her entire life, on average, married once in their whole life, compared to a woman who had 12 partners, married upwards of 3 times today? Vaccinated versus unvaccinated with 2 sexual partners. What are the likelihoods that she will infect 3 of those 18 and they will die of an HPV cancer today? What are the chances? When you do those numbers and those math, you clearly see that the HPV vaccine will never be effective. It's just like the COVID-19 shots. It's not a cure. It limits HPV 16 and 18, doesn't promise to wipe it out, and if you continue to have multiple sexual partners over and over, or even just 5, let's say you're not even at that 18, let's say you're at 5, but of your 5, 3 of yours had 15, 18, especially as we get older. We had divorce, let's say, in our 20s, and then we have divorce in our 30s, and then we have divorce in our 40s, and then we're right back out there in every stage. What do you think the rate and transmissibility and the chances of you getting one of those 16 and 18, 2 of the variations in one virus category out of the 300, what are your chances when you start multiplying out, especially in later life, because all your partners now have been having more and more partners along the way too? What's the multipliers there? This is real math, real statistics. This is morality versus science and morality versus the anti-vax narrative. Do you think your immune system in the compounded hundreds and hundreds isn't going to lead to an HPV 16 or 18 by the time you get to your 40s, for example? Why are the rates of men getting so much higher than women? Because before, it was men were dogs in the 80s. The women were actually really into the marriage and actually didn't go out like the men did. Now, in today's generation, it's perfectly acceptable for men and women to carry on exactly the same. Bisexuality, all kinds of things. Your multipliers are off the charts. These generations of those vaccinated with 70% efficacy, thinking somehow they're immune, like the monkeypox people, or people who don't believe in HIV, it's not real. They go out there and they carry on. Folks, this is real, credible, verifiable. We are paying astronomical amounts of money, working taxpayers, on a morality problem of the system. The government says, well, we just vaccinate everybody. We saw how COVID did, right? The vaccine didn't cure COVID. There's no vaccine for influenza year after year. It doesn't work. It may reduce your risks, but the more influenza you're exposed to, just like the more HPV by having more and more partners and getting older and cashing in on partner after partner long term, then going back out there in the dating scene, eventually, by compounded numbers over time, your number's up. It's why so many men today are dying of throat cancers that are the exact same HPV as what the women's cervical and uterine cancer is. Because women are carrying on just like the men now. That's what's happening. That's why men are about to take over women in HPV throat cancer versus cervix and uterus cancer. Women get the pap smear. They get all that. The government looks at that. But now men don't get any of that. And now men are shooting past the women. It's predicted in a couple short years, men in throat cancer is going to overtake women with cervical and uterine cancer, which is nearly all attributed to HPV. Soon, if they start screening men for HPV, which they don't do now in Canada, they will likely find the same thing. Women are carrying on just like men, inequality. And it's not going to change anything. The vaccine isn't going to change anything. It'll help this generation coming up. But as long as the idea that morality is no big deal, that invincibility's out there, it's okay to carry on. It's okay not to treat marriage as a sanctity. As long as religion starts failing, as long as people believe that it's their right to carry on as much as they like, we're going to watch these things grow astronomically. That's just HPV by the numbers. That's reality. That's reality. You play in the soup, and eventually, like so many today, your numbers are going to come up. They're going to come due. And it's growing astronomically. COVID-19 Canada deaths, 1/5 is just for HPV. And people, HPV mortality, annual, 1/5 of the total of our Canadian COVID mortality numbers. Was that justified? Just in HPV alone, was it justified? The answer is no. And it will only grow and probably shoot past the COVID-19 numbers in time as morality dissipates. That's the truth. We can try to avoid this. We can try to sugarcoat it. We can talk about strong immunity. I promise everybody, HIV without any treatment, there's no immune system that's going to stop that for a 99.8%, 0.896782% of the general population. You get HIV and you go untreated, you're a goner. You get HPV 16 or 18 and your immune system isn't able to fight that off within a 6 to 12 month period, you're likely going to have the most cruel, worst dose of cancers, especially for men and women, when you look at their reproductive system, that you could never want in a million years. It's completely preventable. It's called morality. That's it. Like so many diseases that are out there that have a massive impact. I could probably go through a pile of viral families and we could do videos like this. I could do a whole series of videos on this stuff. People don't like the truth. They don't. But that is the truth. That is the truth. COVID cost us massive. The damage is long into the future. We're seeing it more and more each and every day. And people keep saying, oh, it's the vaccine, it's the vaccine. It's your morality. It's your societal morality. It's the idea of me, I, sanctity of nothing but selfish. That comes from the government. That comes from the Canadian model. Don't tell you these things. Don't tell you anything. Keep going. The people of tomorrow will pay for it. The people of tomorrow make people happy today. Let them live their lives. But we're watching our society fall apart. And people do feel that. I know Canadians know it's true. It's coming. Things are getting tougher and tighter and harder. Misery grows. They paint it, oh, it was COVID, and people come up with their narratives, but the narratives go back to the basic fundamental unit of society. That is family. That is family. Anyone who strays outside of the family unit destroys society. You'll find this in international law. You'll find this reality in religions all over the world. We've got to get back to the family unit. We've got to get back to caring for others as people. That's love. That's the basic blocks of love. Things outside of that is not love. And it degenerates a society, because when you start to break the family unit, you break society. That's the truth. Look what happened to the First Peoples in Canada. Residential school genocide. All about destroying the people. What do you do first? Rip apart the family unit. The First Peoples will feel the generational trauma for decades and decades to come. For decades to come. And in some respects, they're going to continue because it hasn't stopped. While residential schools may be gone, our social services system isn't, the Indian Act isn't. For those people, they're going to battle the destruction of their society, their culture, because the family unit is being attacked. And see it with their government. They don't address morality. You'll see governments that don't believe in religion or any spirituality. They embrace the me, I, you. See what I'm saying? It's reality. Everything put in this video has a number, has statistics, and there's no cure for many viruses. There never has been, and for the foreseeable future, there never will be. Vaccines do help in a lot of respects. There's diseases that we wouldn't want to unbottle in the world. You just wouldn't. You wouldn't. You won't want to unbottle these diseases. Having one of your children or multiple children die during their childhood, you wouldn't want that. These anti-vaxxers say, oh, it's all baloney, it's all baloney. I can show you periods of our Western history alone, never mind the world, where these diseases were critical, and people needed them gone, and a vaccine, a serum, made them gone, and they keep them gone. Doesn't work for everything, though. It can give you a boost. It can give you an alleviation of serious consequences. But that all depends on behavior, morality, a lot of things in the narrative STI or STD, talking about disease and infection, come from viruses created by a behavior. They live in a behavior. Human society said we have to have morality, we have to have laws Find these in many biblical scriptures, old, thousands of years old. Why did they come up with that? Because they wanted to strengthen the family unit. A strong family unit means a strong society, because the family unit is the building block of society. This is reality, always been reality. It's cemented in the highest laws of the world and in many, many countries of the world, strong countries. And if your country doesn't have that cemented in its laws, you don't have a strong family unit. You don't have a good society. Truth. That's my video. Get it shared, shared, shared. A lot of people are going to be gone more and more. We can't keep saying it's the COVID-19 shots. We have to start taking accountability for our behaviors. We have to look at each and every disease out there, especially known viruses, 215 family viruses. We have to look at things like STIs, STDs. We have to start taking accountability for ourselves. We have to look at how are we going to move forward with a strong family unit. Because if you don't have it, again, folks, if you don't have it, you don't have a good society. You don't have a strong society. Dictators, autocrats live in that broken down family unit, a broken society. They do very well there. The people do terribly. They live the worst of the worst, often poverty, diseased, ill, terrible family systems, kids abused. But the tyrants do okay. Those ruling over those people do very well. They all share the same things in common. Weak family units, or broken family units, and weak societies. Facts. Facts. Look at 2/3 of the world. Can't argue these numbers. There's no one to come forward and say, oh, yeah. Oh, no, that's not true. There are many diseases that there's no immune system that's going to save you. None. None whatsoever. Doesn't matter what you eat, what vitamins you take. Behaviors outside of the family unit, clearly laid out, that's why we have STDs and STIs, is all about immoral human behavior and stepping outside the family unit. Free for all. Unaccountable people. Just like the governments that govern them. Take the time. It's an important video. Get it shared. Credible, real, verifiable. People should hear this stuff. That's my video. Thank you. Bye now.